Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today I have two male authors on my channel today to talk about the importance of being a father. I have Neal Owens and Tony Lindsay. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, go ahead, Neal, Mr. Neal.
Yes, Neal Owens, live in High Point, North Carolina, and I happened to put together my debut novel at the age of 61. I wrote my first story in the 5th grade, but I didn't consider writing a profession. But after 33 years, I resigned as director of operations for a youth organization and decided to pursue my passion for writing novels and short stories. And Mirrors of Life, What is Your Life in the Mirror is my debut novel.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tony?
Congratulations. Tony Lindsay, writer, father, professor. I've been published since '99. Got a mystery series, a street lit series, political series. So I do a little, I write quite a bit. I'm lucky enough to be in Chicago where, we've got presses. We got Third World Press, Penknife Press. I was first published by Kwame Alexander, Black Words Press in Virginia, which was really cool. I met him here at the, we used to have this thing called the Black Writers Conference at Chicago State at the Gwendolyn Brooks Center. And he was there, and I got to meet him there, and that was really cool. He published a book. Then I was published by Carl Weber, Urban Books, then Third World Press, and now I'm with Penknife Press. And I've also been with Golden Butterfly Press, and another one in Brooklyn, which I think was a division of Carl. Cubero Books. So I've been published a little bit. I've done, and I'm still writing, currently writing. Had a couple of children's short story collections out, which I'm really proud of. And currently doing another murder mystery, and I do editing, and I'm writing a vampire piece. So, I keep it going, try to.
Yeah.
All right. My first question would be, how did you feel when you first found out that you were going to be a father?
Is that for me first?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Well, it's response. It's joy, it's happiness, all of those things. But then it's responsibility, and it's also important for guidance. It's like when you're Black and you have children, especially if you have a male child in this country, you really have to. It's a lot of things you have to give that particular child as far as guidance and how to conduct themselves, same as how you deal with law enforcement, especially, and not just law enforcement, but people in period, Black and white, because you have to you have to understand that a lot of people move off of their urges, and anger and jealousy and all these different kind of emotions bring out a lot of different type of urges that can lead you into getting yourself in trouble, making those wrong mistakes and leading you into a situation where an apology, a person may not just accept an apology. That might not be enough, and then you've gone into. So it is so much. It's a very, very dangerous world. Fatherhood is very. You have to be. It's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of attention to a lot of different details, because it's not just concentrating on your child inside the home, but outside the home. You have to be with your child in spirit, even when you're not there in the flesh. You have to be there with your child in the spirit, because you have to be that. You have to leave that frame of reference in your child as to how they approach a certain situation if it occurs, and that's very important for them to have that frame of reference.
Well, when I was just happy, I was like thrilled. I couldn't wait to see if it was going to be a boy or a girl. Couldn't wait to see it. I was just, and I was with my wife at the time, so I was always talking to her. I was just, it was like an amazing thing, because my background is different, and so to have a continuation of me biologically was something that was just outstanding, so I was totally hyped up.
Okay, Tony, what is manhood to you? What is that term to you?
I think it's all about being a person. This may sound kind of crazy, but I don't. It's all about trying to be a good, honest person. I try to do, maybe not even all the time honest. I try to be as reliable, using Neal's word, and responsible as I can. I try to stand on what I say, but I expect that from I got all daughters. I expect that from them. I expect them to stand on what they say, the best that they possibly can. This life doesn't always allow us to do everything that we hope we can do, but it does if a good effort is made. Manhood, I don't see any big difference between being a man and being a father or being a mother. I'm there to be the best person I could be for that child. I've been married to the same woman for 35 years. I don't lay down directives. Oh, I said it this way because I'm the man. I don't play it like that. That's not how we do. We are partners. I had this guy knock on my door one time. He was selling something. And he said, "Oh, King, I'm coming in to give you props as a king." And I was like, "Stop, brother. Ain't no royalty in here, because ain't nobody requesting service. I don't have any servants. You can call me a king if you want, but that's not how I look at it. Me and my wife are partners, and we try to, work on this together. I don't have no, because I say it so type mentality. It's, well, as a father talking to a child, yes. But as far as trying to be a man and make that me a ruler, I don't want to rule nobody, because I may make a mistake. So we got to figure this out together.
Okay. Neal?
Yeah, a lot of things that Tony said I would totally agree with. And I would just add that I define manhood as part of self-development, and it's the maturity and the spirituality. It's incorporating faith, and that's very, very important. So God has a major role in manhood, because God is also understanding that some people think manhood, you got to manhood can walk away. You don't have to always be on the offensive. Manhood, you can humble yourself, and you can walk away from an altercation and still be. That's a part of manhood. Manhood, you want to incorporate wisdom, because that's very important when you talk about manhood. And I used to, because I've always am mentoring my children and addressing. I like to bring up points in the Bible, and I use examples like with Jesus. And the scriptures say, with Jesus walked in Galilee but wouldn't walk in Jewry because the Jews sought to kill him. Now, nobody could touch Jesus until it was time for him to be touched, but he used his wisdom in not going there. And, it's not that he didn't know. That's just manhood. Manhood applies wisdom. You got to know what to do, when and when not. No matter how you are, you got to know how to humble yourself. It's not important. You got to go around and try to prove yourself to everybody in different things. You don't have to do that. And so manhood is a part of it. It's a lot of things. And I see manhood, the most important part of manhood is respect. Well, what the Bible tells you, that, the commandments, fear God and commandments of God. But you want to incorporate also, I want to add the respect for the Black woman and others. Respect for other people of all races, not just Black, but white, of all races, respecting all people, loving all people. That's very, very important. But in that love, now I do have to add this, because I do believe wisdom overshadows love. So there is come a time when, you can't, there is a time, there's a time for everything. There's a time for love, there's a time for hate, staying in the scriptures. So, wisdom overshadows love. And that's something a lot of people don't hold the truth. They don't practice it.
Yeah. Neal, what do you love about being a father?
Well, I didn't have a father around me. As I grew up as a child, I didn't have a father. I had my mother. So being a father, what I love most about being a father is that I was very, very tough, a lot of tough love to my children. And the fact that they've turned out the way they have and they still recognize me and respect me, even as a stepfather, that's a beautiful thing. When stepchildren can look at you and see you as their biological father. Yeah. So yeah, that would be the biggest piece. Having my children, the biological and the non-biological, look upon me as biological.
Okay. Tony, what do you love?
Well, I loved how they looked, I love seeing me and my wife in them. I loved hugging them when they was babies. I still hug them a lot. Every time I see them, I touch them. I loved giving them information. I remember when they was little, like 7 or 8, and I told them, I was like, it's gonna come a time when you're gonna know more about the world than me, but it ain't that time right now. So you gotta listen to what I say, because they were, they were raised analytically, so they were always arguing, always bringing up points, which is, how I wanted them to do it, So I loved learning from them. I loved, and that was the unexpected part. I didn't go into it thinking that I was going to learn stuff from these kids, and I did, even, and the same thing with a grandfather, my granddaughter, grandson, they just gassed me, they taught me how to do Instagram. You know what I mean? It's just, and then I learned principles that I have inside. I learned generosity, loyalty from kids. I was, I was cold. I wasn't a very loyal individual, It was all about me. Kids and having a wife, that taught me, stuff that I didn't have, that I didn't know. So the learning experience is one of the things I love about it the most.
Okay, what are the challenges that you face as being a father?
The challenges that you face as being a father. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges. Understanding your children's point of view is a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who they associate with is a challenge. I think I found those two things to be the biggest challenge for me. Because there are some things that the parent can see that the child cannot see.
Yeah.
and no matter how they don't see it, so they don't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they have to go through that experience of it. And then, you're in a situation where, you told them so, but you can't say you told them so. You just got to heal them and everything like that. Then at a later point, you can tell them. At that moment, you can't. So that's the big challenge for me.
For me, the biggest challenge was realizing that they wasn't me, that they gonna have different opinions and thoughts other than mine. When they were, little, it was like, I think you should think this way, but that wasn't how they was gonna think all the time, and that was a challenge. Realizing that, these are individuals, these are little people, and they're not little me's. They are little people that's gonna go in their own way and own direction, and I had to not be overprotective, because the biggest arguments I got in was, popping up places, hey, making sure that they were safe, because they were so precious to me. So I had to not overprotect, because I was, like I said, pretty, I was overzealous in that area, because they were girls, and then it was the boy thing, that was a big challenge, this one guy called it, relax, Pop. I ain't your pop, so I ain't nothing to you. I'm your blocker, so the guy thing was was a little funny. That was, but they 30s grown now, so, but same thing with the granddaughter though. I'm like, so I don't know, that was challenging too.
What do you like or love about your own dad, Tony?
All right. My dad didn't have to be my dad, right? I was raised in a foster care system. So for him to make that decision to say, okay, well, we're going to take this little dude and we'll raise him. That was pretty, that was solid. And he tried his best not to make a difference between me and the rest of his kids. He really made that attempt. And I was bad, so it wasn't like, I know it wasn't an easy thing to do. I had some issues. I came there, street raised. So I respected that. The fact that he was willing to open his heart up to somebody that wasn't biologically his. I don't know if I would, could possibly do that, but he did it. And so I love that about him. And he told me something, he told us this all the time, think before you talk, and that has stuck with me a long time.
Okay. Neal?
Well, I didn't have, I never knew my father. I only saw a picture of him. My mother, she was my father and my mother. So she really did her best to be my father. And I remember when she tried to sit down and talk to me about the birds and the bees, which is something that, the father does with his son. And it didn't feel very comfortable coming from wasn't very comfortable coming from her. And so I really cut her off a lot. I ain't know a dang on thing about birds and the bees, but I cut her off like, I already know. I told her I already know, but I ain't know nothing. I pretty much, I learned it from the street, from the guys out there on the street, the corner. That's why I learned about the birds and the bees. But you miss that father. You understand how important a father figure is. And I realized that as a kid coming up without a father, that's somebody that I wanted to, a relationship that I wanted to have that I didn't have. But my mother did the best she could to fill that vacancy for me.
What do you feel your role is as a father?
You know, it's support. I think it's more important is support. You know, and it's being that ear. You know, being able to listen, because that's very, very important to listen, and for your children to know that you are listening to them, not that they're just talking, but you're actually listening. You know, and that's very, very important. So to be supportive, listen, provide advice, provide guidance, but listen to your children. You know, because like Tony said, they're like little people, and they're not me. They have their own individuality, and you want to recognize that. You know, expound, and they should grow off of that individuality. But you want to give them the proper guidance. So listen, most important, listen, and be supportive in their decisions.
Yeah, I agree with that. And guidance, you know, provide a good example. You know, my mother told me, she was like, you know, kids marry their parents, you know. So you're gonna marry somebody like me, and your daughter's gonna marry somebody like you. And that just threw me off, because I was like, oh, damn. You know, I hadn't been trying to look at showing them what a husband should be. You know, I just was caught up into providing as best I could, making sure that they had bikes, gym shoes, coats, you know, that type of thing. But she was like, no, you got to show them what an example of a good husband is, you know. Open doors, you know, now I know that's probably passe now, but I still do that, you know. So they saw me walking on the outside, and when I was walking with my wife, they saw how I dressed and talked to my wife. They saw that, you know. Now, when I look at the men that they picked, I don't know if my mother was 100% on that. Although the guys are nice, you know what I'm saying. I can't say that you know, but they, you know, ain't nobody gonna be good enough for your daughters, and that's just, you could like them, but you know, you could like them and be respectful for them, and I do respect these guys that they've chosen to, you know, and that's pretty much it. So you have to be an example. And like Neal was saying, you got to listen, you know, because again, they're not you. So yeah, provide a good example, because they take that, you know, because and when I look at my wife, and my wife and my mother do share a lot of traits. They don't look alike, but they share a lot of traits, you know, and so I give that some reverence.
Why is fatherhood so important, or fathers important?
You can go.
Oh, I think Neal's stuck. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead. No, I'll go and keep going.
Okay. You know, fatherhood it's a combination of why it's so important, because you're talking like the word Tony mentioned, guidance. You know, and guidance is extremely important in dealing with from fatherhood, and dealing with your children and guiding them. And like he said, showing the examples of how to conduct yourself and how you should be treated as a male or as a female. As a male, how should you treat females and other people? And as a female, how you should be treated by another male and others. It's just like, you know, I tell my daughter, I just told her, if anybody hits you, if a guy hits you, you remove yourself from that relationship right away. Mm-hmm. If he threatened to hit you, you remove yourself from that relationship right away. Certain things is like going back to that frame of reference, and you talk about your experiences. That's the key of fatherhood, having your experiences in life that you can share with your children, because a lot of your experiences, they are going to encounter those experiences. They may be in different ways, but they're going to encounter those experiences. And so given that frame of reference is very, very important and critical. And it's like, and so it's important to go over these things. So fatherhood is really thinking about your child and preparing your child for adulthood. And that's what I take in fatherhood, is just preparing my children for adulthood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Preparation, and the protector, you know, mamas protect too, but that was a big thing for me. I wanted my kids to always feel safe, and I wanted, because some of the environments they were raised in wasn't like, you know, it wasn't Mayberry, you know what I'm saying? So there was a degree of, you know, when I walked out this house, the people that saw me walk out that house had to speculate that, you know, I don't think you really want to go down there. You know what I'm saying? So there had to be that. I had to have that part had to be there too. So the and the important, it was just being a parent, you know, being a good, solid parent is an important part of fatherhood. And consistency, you know, I can't treat you this way this day and not treat you that way the next day. My no had to remain consistent all the way through. My yes had to remain consistent all the way through. If I said no to this one, that one got the same dang no. You know what I mean? I couldn't fluctuate. And again, that's just being a good parent. I had to, what's important? And consistency, protection, that was it. You know, going back to my mother, she's like, wait, before you buy a dog, you know, cause when they get 16 to 15, you need to be real mean and old and, you know, and ornery. And so I always kind of kept that in my mind, that I had to be that honorary dog, you know. So that's about it.
Okay.
Uh-oh, Neal, you blinked. There you go. Yeah.
What is the difference between being a dad and being a father, if there is any?
I'll take it till he gets back. I don't think there is a difference. It's just terminology. I don't know. I don't know the morphology of the word. For me, the terms mean the same thing. My dad, my father. I don't think there is a difference. I don't know. There may be, but not for me.
Okay. Welcome, Omar Finley. How you doing?
Doing well.
Okay, tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm originally from Pontiac, Michigan. Grew up heavy in sports, but I always wanted to, you know, do something myself, do something on my own. But yeah, grew up there. Ended up going to college in Virginia at Hampton University. Graduated with electrical engineering degree there, and ended up working in engineering for about 13 years. And so, but along the way, married, had a few children, and dealt with the corporate world in the corporate sense very strongly. Wasn't able to really kind of branch out and do what I wanted to do in the engineering world. Did well. I designed tractors, I designed bearings, I designed bottles. So I did a lot of good work in engineering. But, you know, where I'm at now is, you know, about 5 years ago, about 7 years ago, my wife and I, we wrote a book called A World of Our Own, The Beginning. It illustrates God as a Black man. And that book had done so well that we decided, you know what, it'd be a great idea to give the Black community books, children's books, where we actually focus on our children and maturing our children. And so that's where I'm at today, is I'm standing inside of the listening tree. We're a children's bookstore committed to Black authorship. And so, you know, with what's happening out here with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, you know, we're a perfect fit for what's going on because we're committed to Black authorship. So every book inside of our store is Black author. And then we also teach entrepreneurship. So actually tomorrow we're kicking off a brand new class in the afternoon for 8 to 12 and 13 to 18-year-olds where we teach them how to own and operate their own business. But we've got a continuing class that's going on in the morning. So we've been doing that even while COVID-19 was going on online. So we're teaching our children how to own and operate. They're going to have an LLC website and they'll have a payment portal. So everybody here, you'll be able to shop with a young entrepreneur from the listening tree within the next 10 weeks. And so that's our Young Entrepreneurs program. And then we also have a book club. Our book club gets children from newborn all the way up to age 16 book in a newsletter every month, and they have access to our virtual meetup, which is very much like Facebook. So they can instant message each other. They can talk about the books that are going on, and we've always got a discussion around the book of the month going on. And so I come in there sometimes, like we're doing now, via video, you know, just to maybe start a discussion. And it's usually for our 8 to 14-year-olds. Okay. And so that's, you know, that's a real short hit, you know what I mean? but just to give you guys a piece of the passion for what we do. When I was born, a year before I was born, my brother was shot in the back by the police. And my first 6 years of life, I was learning who my brother was through a newspaper article, and I never really knew him. And so behind that, my father ended up becoming an alcoholic. And for my first 6 years, I saw him be great on one side, but I saw him be an alcoholic on the other. And he ended up dying when I was 6 years old. And so from all of that, you know, I developed a very keen awareness of the political system that was against me as a young Black man. And so that's the whole point. What I'm standing inside of is the listening tree, where we literally are making sure that if you come in here, if you shop in here, that you're getting responsible representation of the Black community.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next question, Tony has already answered it, but the next question was, what is the difference between being a dad and a father, if there is any?
Can you repeat it? It keeps cutting you out.
What is the difference between being a dad and a father, if there is one?
Okay, all I heard was between being a dad and a father.
What's the difference?
Between being a dad and a father?
If there is one.
Oh wow. Yeah, for me, I don't really know. That's probably my biggest goal in life, is to be a great father, right? And so I see them both the same. If I'm gonna make the distinction, I guess the difference would be, you know, the guy who lays down with a lady would be a dad, right? But the man who sticks around to raise his child, I would say, would be a father. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hey, I'll be right back. Hold on.
Neal?
I would say that's eloquently spoken. I mean, that sums it up. That sums it up for me as well. You know, the dad is the one that, you know, lays with the child, has the child. The father is the one that's right there with the child and supporting the child all the way. So they should be the same, but at some places there is a difference, because there are some who can say that's my dad, but that particular dad isn't being a father.
Okay. Okay.
But if you're a father, you'll be a dad.
Are fathers really necessary for healthy children? No, let me rephrase that. Are fathers really necessary for healthy child development?
Well, I grew up without a father, so I can't say that it's necessary, but it's important to have because it has critical, because there are certain things that occurred in my life. If I had a father, you know, I wouldn't have done some of the things that I did do. And it's only by the grace of God that I'm not dead or locked up in jail. So, you know, it is definitely a necessity for us to have a father. I think that's extremely important for every child to have a father, just like to have a mother. I think those two are very, very important, and they should exist. So yes, you know, that's only by the grace of God that I was able to make it through without having a father, because there was a lot of things that I wouldn't listen to my mother, because my mother was trying to be my father, but she was my mother, you know. And for me, it was like, she's my mother. You know, certain things I didn't want to hear from about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
so I'm gonna learn it from the other guys out in the street. And a lot of them just lying. They don't know what the hell they talking about either. But you know, I'm out there. So yeah, you need a father. It's very, very important to have a father.
I wouldn't say that it's unhealthy not having a father. I think you can be. I know a bunch of women that have raised some hell of a dudes, some great guys. You know, so it is beneficial to have a father, but you can be healthy without a dad. You can still learn. Your mama can still show you, teach you the right things to do. You know, you just got to listen. I know some women now that are raising some great young men. You know, would their life be easier with a guy? Yes. There are benefits to having a second person, second point of view. You know, without being crude, you know, you got to learn how to pee standing up. You know what I'm saying? So there's certain things that only a guy gonna show you. Eventually you're gonna get it, you know, but it's easy if you taught that from the very beginning, you know. It's roles, it's societal roles, things that, you know, you learn how to do from another man. And a lot of it is just bogus. It's some gender bogus shit, but that's just the way that we live in, you know. Learn how to body punch from a guy. You know, so there's benefits to it, but does it make you go be unhealthy if you don't have a dad? No, you know. But they're definitely important.
What do you wish someone had told you about being a father before you became a father?
You know, I don't think, I can't say that there's anything that I wish someone had told me about being a father before I became a father, because, you know, unless I had became a father before I had became a man, you know, if I had become a father before I became a man, then yeah, there was things. But once you become a man and you reach that maturity level of self-development, you know, it all comes in naturally, because it comes from within. It's like knowing oneself leads to knowing one's, you know, leads to knowing others, you know. And it's just like that. If you know yourself, you have a realization of other people and their feelings and their thoughts. Mm-hmm. And that's very important. So yes, that would be the only comment I have on that question.
Again, my mother had told me something, and she was like, when you have that baby, that's going to be for a lifetime. And I didn't quite understand what that meant. So she told me, I wish I would have listened a little bit more. I didn't know that a child was going to be in every aspect of your life. You know, I didn't know that there was never going to be a time when I wasn't going to be a dad. Once you're a dad, that's for life, you know. And I didn't quite understand that. And she told it to me before my first baby got here. She was like, you know, hey, you know, this is for life. You know, once you have a child, that's your life is different for life. Mm-hmm. And I probably wish I would have known what that difference really meant a little bit more. You know, I you know, the commitment level, I don't know. I just I didn't know how serious for life really meant. You know, so that's what I wish I would have. And they did tell me, I wish I would have listened, you know, a little bit more. Not that it would have changed anything. You know, it's just that I wish I would have had less frustrations. You know, there was unexpected stress that came with it. I didn't know that I was going to be worrying about somebody else other than myself, you know, because I was self-centered individual. But babies made me look and worry about people outside of me, you know, and I wasn't expecting that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, tell me, how did it feel when you found out that you was going to be a father?
It was the most exciting and nervous feeling at the same time I ever had, right? For me, we have been married now. We've been married for about a year and a month when we found out. And it was definitely exhilarating to know that I recreated a part of myself, you know, and I just wanted it to be a son. I'll be honest with you. I wanted it to be a son. And, you know, I read as many books as I could about being a father, because like I said, that's my biggest goal in life, actually, is to be a great father, is to be the right kind of father. And so, yeah, that's what I base. That's the root of everything that I do every day.
What do you love about being a father?
Just the fact that I can teach my children what I see, give them the insights that I feel like nobody gave me, and then lay out a path for them that I wish somebody would have laid for me. So, like I said, the best part of it is just being able to put them in a position that I never was in, right? That I've had to work to get to. Mm-hmm. I'd like them to be in a much better position so that their work is worth
more. What are some of the challenges that you have faced being a father?
The number one challenge I face being a father is racism, to be straight up real with you. Because I told you I'm an engineer, and that was the work that I was doing at the time. It's never been my passion, to be honest with you, but it was always something that, you know, it paid the bills, it took care of everything. And I always came across or came against people who didn't appreciate the fact that that I really do. You know, I really like to do a wonderful job, and you know, I used to shine at jobs at times when I wasn't supposed to, and it got me in a lot of trouble. Mm-hmm. And so what that did was it constantly constantly caused my income to go up and down, because I was changing jobs every 2 or 3 years, and that was something that I really hated, because you know, I really needed to make sure that financially I was in a place where, you know, my children wouldn't feel the up and down that I felt as a father. So that's probably been the biggest challenge. Other than that, I see fatherhood as the biggest and the greatest blessing I've ever had, because I'm able to give my children something that I didn't have once, you know, after 6 years old. my father died. So I just didn't have it. And I didn't realize what I didn't have until I got out of the house at 18, 19, 20. And then I had to teach myself everything that my father may have taught me if he had been here. And so that's what that so it's, I don't feel challenged at all in being a father. I feel blessed that I've been given the opportunity to be the father, you know, for my children. And so I'm just thankful for them every day.
Mm-hmm. Why are fathers so important?
Because the father sees the future in many ways, and the father sets a path for their child that would empower their child and not just help their child survive. I think fathers protect, fathers provide, and they provide a covering, right? Of a spiritual covering, a financial covering, a covering of knowledge that you can't get from anybody else, because the father is always fixing problems. And I think what that shows for a child is that problems will come, but if I can do like Daddy does, I can fix it. And I think that's why fathers are so important, because it shows a child an outlook that's stable, right?
Mm-hmm.
That if your father is there, even though challenges come, Daddy always sticks in there. Daddy ain't running nowhere. Daddy always, hey, look, no problem. We're gonna fix it. Don't worry. We're right here. We ain't going nowhere. So it just gives a certain peace to a household for a father to be there.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel is your role as a father?
To set my children on a trajectory that allows them to chase their dreams. To basically set them up financially in a way that allows them to go after what's really in their heart and turn that into a business. I think that my role as a father is to set them up in business so that their life and their legacy can go on long after me.
Okay. What do you wish someone had told you about being a father before you became a father?
Wow. Man, I don't know if I think like that. If there was something I wish somebody would have told me, it would have been to prepare. It would have been the specific things that you need to prepare yourself with to be a father, right? Mm-hmm. So like, you know, what kind of tools do you need to have in your house? How much money should you keep in your account? You know, what kind of things should you do every day to keep your mind at peace so that you can deal with the problems of the world? And I really wish somebody had been more specific with me about that, and how hard it really is to be a man, because manhood is very hard, and there are a lot of things working against manhood that wants to remove the power of the man inside of the Black household.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you for having me, Queenie.
You're welcome. All right, you heard it there. Those were 3 fathers: Neal Owens, Tony Lindsay, and Omar Finley, and they are all authors. So go check them out. This is Queenie Clem, Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. I'm your literary ambassador. Happy reading and happy Father's Day. Bye.